This is Fieldsports Channel News. The value of shooting to the UK economy is £3.3 billion. That's the figure released by market researchers Cognizance in a new report from 24 organisations linked to Fieldsports in the UK. 10 years ago, a similar survey said the value was £2 billion. The value of shooting document explores growth in some areas and decline in others. Habitat managed for shooting has increased from 2 million hectares in 2014 to 7.6 million now. There were 74,000 full-time jobs in shooting and conservation 10 years ago, compared with 67,000 in 2024, a drop of 7,000. Trade, conservation groups, organising bodies and land management representatives contributed to the survey. Here's BASC's Head of Biodiversity, Ian Danby, to explain the importance of the figures in the new report.
These are numbers people, it stops them and it gets them to listen to whatever you want to say next. So that's the reason why it's good to have these headline figures, gets the attention, gets people to understand the scale of shooting and take it seriously.
The value of shooting is just one of the issues BASC believes is high on the agenda when it comes to choosing who to vote for in the general election on July the 4th. It's launched its own web portal to help members and non-members alike to contact candidates. The link is below. Christopher Graffius explains what it's about.
So we will be publishing an interactive web page that sends a email to your political candidates and asks them to sign a statement in support of shooting and conservation. And we then record whether or not they have signed the statement against their name on the website so that voters can see which of their candidates are supported and therefore cast an informed vote.
In Wales, rugby legend Gareth Edwards spoke to members of the National Gamekeepers Organisation and urged them to contact prospective MPs to ask them about their views on game shooting, deer stalking and fishing. The NGO is launching its own group to advise members how to approach candidates.
We can all complain as much as we want about the Welsh Rugby Union, but until you start putting it all together, pulling together and start working together, you won't get very far because there'll be always somebody with a different viewpoint to you. So I think the fact that this is happening, that we're here in a small pub in Bridgend, it's the first step forward.
Conservation industry bodies say they are thrilled to be awarded £1.2 million to reintroduce pine martens to areas of the southwest of England. The National Lottery Heritage Fund paid the cash to organisations involved in the Two Moors Pine Marten project. Around 40 of the animals will be released over the next 2 years at selected locations on Exmoor and Dartmoor, priced at £30,000 each. Thought to be common across the UK at one time, pest control and habitat loss drove them to the brink of extinction in England and Wales. Thanks to Richard Walton for the story. Fieldsports members with certificate problems are getting their guns back. In the latest episode of our Fieldsports Advice Bureau show, the link is below, Layla the lawyer explains how she has been helping one member with an appeal against police revoking his certificate.
It got to less than 24 hours before the appeal hearing and it was taken out of the court listing, I know, and put back for several months. Not an ideal situation. He subsequently, following a conversation with myself, contacted the firearms licensing unit, and they are now in discussions of how he is going to get his certificates back.
FAB is a Fieldsports membership benefit. Layla can't represent you in court, that's what our legal insurance cover is for, but she can point you in the right direction. For the long version of her chat, click the link below.
There is hope for people. People have things in their past, in their history, that police authorities will look at and give a balanced view.
While Britain's sheep farmers worry about foxes and even sea eagles taking their lambs, in Norway, it's all about the wolves. The Norwegian newspaper NRK reports at least 20 animals have been found dead in a region between Gåsdal and Øya, with many others seriously injured. The Norwegian Nature Inspectorate examined bite patterns on the dead lambs and has issued hunting permits to allow the wolves to be shot. So far, none of the animals have been found. Thanks to Per Holmseth for the story. Hunters in New Zealand can now use thermal spotters. The Department of Conservation banned thermal technology on any public land in 2010. New Zealand's Minister for Hunting and Fishing, Todd McClay, has now announced handheld spotters are acceptable. Thermal scopes attached to a rifle are still banned, as is discharging a firearm at night. America's Supreme Court has ruled in favour of the National Rifle Association in a legal battle. State officials from New York had blacklisted the organisation. The court delivered a unanimous verdict that New York's governor and financial regulator acted unconstitutionally. They blocked the NRA from using banking and insurance services. The court said the NRA had been blacklisted because of political views, which is against America's First Amendment. It's the same law used to protect the rights of minority groups experiencing racism and sex discrimination. A new report from the United Nations has outlined the threat to wildlife from alien species. The report comes from the UN's ecology body and says there are 3,500 invasive aliens globally, causing billions of pounds worth of damage. On the UK list is the grey squirrel and the Asian hornet, a species which has just survived hibernating through a winter in Britain for the first time, after being accidentally transported from Asia on cargo vessels. They're a significant predator for bees. Grey squirrels arrived in the UK from America in the 1870s and have wiped out much of the population of native red squirrels. And finally, a new art exhibition in South Africa uses bad taxidermy to explore the culture of trophy hunting. Artist Roger Ballen's installation, called The End of the Game, switches the roles between hunter and the hunted. It shows a lion carrying 2 human heads in bags, plus other sculptures depicting animals in conflict with people. Judging by the facial expression on this stuffed lioness, she'll be as surprised as anyone if the Johannesburg Art Show is a roaring success. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.